Hi creative friends, this is Jolene, mixed media artist and psychotherapist in the UK, and this is a little tutorial to make a very simple fun notebook. I'm actually going to gift this to somebody very special in my life and suggest they use it as a shopping list book. Very inspired by the colours around me at the moment. It is a beautiful summer's day and I've got some deep pinks and purples and greens and oranges in my garden as all the flowers start to take bloom. So you can see here I've got pens, I've got some cosmic shimmer gilding flakes, and here is some of those stickers that I use frequently. You can buy these on Amazon or eBay. And this is a fairly stiff bit of brown card from a sketchbook. I'm also going to be using Inktense blocks and watercolors. Now normally watercolours work best on watercolour paper, however I found that these stickers work really well with watercolour paints. The watercolour just sits very nicely on the top of the paper. You do have to let it dry regularly because obviously you don't want the gum on the back of the round circular stickers to lose its adhesion. And all I'm doing is playing on this paper using shapes, very simple forms, layering them over the top of each other. And what I'm going to do is now and then when the paper gets a bit too saturated is just leave it out in the sun to dry. One of the bonuses of using this particular paper I have found is that as opposed to watercolour paper where those paints kind of seep into the paper, with this it really sits on the top, so you get some beautiful bright colours. So having been out in the sun to dry, I'm now going to move on to making some very simple forms across my piece. And I'm using my paintbrush to make these leaf shapes, first one way and then the other. I have a lovely creeper plant in my garden, and these leaves appear on quite a lot of my pieces in the summer, I think. I do love these metallic watercolour paints. They are quite something, certainly if you're going to use them at a time of year when it's very sunny and the sunlight just catches on these little patches of gold. So I'm going to reach now for my Inktense blocks. Inktense are lovely to use over watercolours because they are water dissolvable, but they are these really deep, strong colours. And so what I'm creating now is some mark making. Interesting because normally you would put the form, i.e. those leaves, after your mark making. However, I want the mark making to be right at the top, almost like those leaves are hiding in the undergrowth. I take white and a black and I just flick it all over just to create some random speckles. So now on to a bit of pen work, and just in various different shapes I'm going to create different marks. So on those pink lengths I create little white marks. I use a grey marker pen, not a black one, to create some scribbledy circles around the blue patches. And then I use a slightly darker grey to go round the leaves just to pull them right to the front. I really enjoy using grey as opposed to black this time of year. Black pen work really stands right up at the top, and there's something for me about summer where everything blends into each other. That means using a grey, that softer tone, just lets everything sit back a little bit. At this point I want to start adding some really special shimmer, and I need to remember where the circle outlines are of my stickers, because I'm going to be using my Pritt stick, my Tombow glue stick, to make little marks and then putting the cosmic shimmer on top of that. What I don't want to do is put any glue mark over the lines where my stickers are, and the reason for that is that you won't be able to pull them off at a later date. So I literally just make little dashes with my glue stick, and then I sprinkle some of those cosmic shimmer gilding flakes over the top. And you're going to see in a minute I will take a dry brush after they've sat down on the glue for a little bit, and I will flick it all away, leaving obviously the bits of gilding flakes on the top. Now if you don't have gilding flakes, you could use glitter, you could use a metallic pen or a metallic glue. I just think these gilding flakes are something quite special, and trust me, they last a lifetime. So let's make this little book, and it's going to come together ever so easy. I'm going to take a large piece of brown paper. This is an A3 size bit of brown paper. You could use anything, but I would use something quite plain, and I would use something quite dark, so a black or a matte purple or something like that. And I fold it in half lengthways, and then I fold it into 3, which is going to give me 6 pages, which will end up being 12 sides. So I fold it each way. I have a love of really rustic, rough edges on my notebooks, so I crease it both ways to give me a nice hard crease, and then I'm going to rip along each of those creases. I keep the original fold in because that becomes the spine of my book. Now you'll notice that I left the holes where this book was originally inside a notebook. Again, I really love things that are a bit rustic, so I leave that there. I take my stapler and I put a staple in the top and the tail of this book, and then I'm going to take a bit of organza fabric, and I'm going to glue it to the spine, half on each side. And then I'm going to work in the book while I let that organza just dry firm, because in the end what I'm going to do is punch some holes through it and thread some funky yarn. This is the most joyous moment of this whole workshop, because when you peel those stickers off, you suddenly realise how beautiful each piece is. It really is like going for a little adventure into the nooks and corners of your own little garden. Each sticker, each circular sticker I put on the right hand page, and I'm not going to leave those outside bits to waste. How could you? How could one leave those bits to waste? No, instead what I do is I use them to create a little centerpiece for the writing that will go eventually on the left hand side. As I said, I'm hoping that my friend who I gift this to will use this perhaps as a little notebook. One way to help these little corner pieces become cohesive and sit nicely into the brown paper is just to add a little bit of white pen mark. So I scribble along the arches and then I put some dots and dashes to help anchor it to the top and bottom of the page. I grab my crocodile and place some holes, and then I take some funky yarn and just randomly thread it through the holes and allow the thread to come back down the back of the book at the end. You're going to see me sort of loop it through the back and then just have it dangling down the end. And that's your notebook finished. And I can promise you it's utterly gorgeous. And those little cosmic shimmer gilding flakes, where they are all different colours, they provide this wonderful, almost a sort of crystal forming on the top of each page. I do hope you've had lots of fun watching this particular video tutorial. Please do hit the subscribe button. It's so lovely to see familiar faces coming back, and please leave me a comment. Let me know if you're going to give this a go. I'd love to know what colours are in your garden right now. Of course, not everybody is in the middle of summer. Some people are in the middle of winter. So let me know how you get on. For more tutorials and 2 free live workshops every single week, head to our Facebook group, Live Art Journaling and Self-Development. The link is in the description below.